right, welcome to Clarkson Hockey Intermission. Got some former Golden Knights here now that have chosen to make hockey their profession as coaches. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we'll get cracking on some questions. We're going to start out with Mr. Wool.
JF Wool, class of 97, currently coaching for the Bakersfield Condors out in California. I've been here for 7 years.
Bakersfield is, what's the temp there right now?
Oh, it's nice. It's 70 and starting the season soon here. So pretty excited to be back.
All right, Phil.
Phil Waugh, class of 2000. I am now coaching in Shawinigan for the Cataracts in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. This is my first season, and we were just wrapping up our third camp. We played 10 games so far. Got shut down twice due to COVID, and we're playing this weekend in a small bubble with two other teams.
Okay. Chris
Bernard, class of 98. I'm in the midst of my 12th season as the head hockey coach at Potsdam State.
All right. Matt.
Yeah, Matt Curley, class of 2007. Currently the head coach up at the University of Alaska Anchorage in year 3. Unfortunately, not playing this season due to COVID, but hopefully able to get back at it in some capacity next season.
All right, and Alex.
Alex Boat, class of 2014, going into my 5th year at SUNY Canton, NCAA D3.
All right. Again, thanks for joining us, guys. So we know it's in the 80s and sunny out in California. Girls, what's the weather like up in Alaska right now?
It is a balmy 22 degrees. It's actually very warm. We've had a bit of a warm spell here the past couple of days, but all in all, and to be honest with you, Bartz, it's not in Anchorage. It isn't as bad as you would think being all the way up here in Alaska. We're kind of tucked away in a little bowl by the water and the mountains. So believe it or not, it's actually colder in the North Country half the time during the winter. So it's actually, despite being all the way up here, it's not too bad.
Nice. And Phil, you're about 5 hours north of us here in Potsdam right now, right?
That's right. So similar weather.
So what do you got right now up there?
Well, in Celsius, it's -20 and a lot of snow.
Good. All right. So some of you guys touched on it. So Phil, your season is about to restart. Talk to us about how you've had a start, a stop, a start, a stop. What's been happening up in the queue?
Well, it's the only league in Major Junior that we're able to start. We've got good backing from our government. We're able to start in late August, early September. Throughout the league, all the teams went through their camps, and in the Maritimes, they were able to play more games because they had less cases. We played 4, then got shut down. Then we did a huge bubble with 7 teams in Quebec City. Got tested as more times than I could count and would like to remember. And then we played an additional 6 games there for total 10, and then got shut down again, and then Christmas. So now we're able to restart. So it's been different, no question. As probably Jeff is going to go through or is going through now with different process and coming in the rink, washing your hands, masks, no masks, testing, meetings, and all that. So it's been a period of time where you have to adapt. But we're all doing what we want here, especially with the players, is keep them on the ice and keep them focused.
Okay. So JF, where are you in your season right now?
We are starting training camp next week. Our players are in quarantine right now. They have to quarantine for 3 days, and then they get tested, and then we could start our training camp, and we get tested 3 times a week. And they've been in training camp in Edmonton before the NHL season started, so the guys are ready to get on the ice, and we're gonna have a lot of young players this year. Actually, one of the Clarkson grads going to be hopefully on our team when Brosseau, and it should be a fun year. We're excited to get started here.
Good. Last week when I talked with Conroy Taylor, Chris Clark, and some of the execs, they said Craig said one of the biggest challenges he has is being a Canadian franchise with an American affiliate. So you're an affiliate with Edmonton right now. Do you know of any big challenges that are going to be like if a guy gets hurt at Edmonton, what's the process going to be to call up a guy from your team?
Yeah, you know what? It is very challenging. That's why they created the taxi squad in the NHL. So there's not going to be much movement from the American Hockey League to the NHL this year because there's already 6 extra players up there. So, there's not going to be many, but if there is movement, they do have to quarantine when they go back to Canada to play for the Edmonton Oilers. So it's going to be a challenge for the teams, and with the salary caps, they got to make sure they're underneath the salary cap. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Sure. Okay, Matt, Alex, Chris, you guys right now are in the midst of sort of an off-season, in-season. Why don't you go through the process of how your season was going to start up, and then you found out it wasn't going to happen. So I'll start with Boker. We'll start with you.
So right now we're not dead in the water yet. Our guys got back last Monday, so they're quarantining right now, we got tested on Monday. So hopefully we get our results back today, start practice on Thursday, and then we're kind of rolling from there. We have some potential games ready to go in February and in March. So, hopefully we kind of stay healthy this next couple of weeks here so we can kind of get close to playing games. I know the guys are excited for it. We are too, to kind of somewhat get back to a normal season, but we just practiced straight through the fall. The guys went home at Thanksgiving, came back, like I said, last Monday, and now we're hoping to get rolling again.
Okay, great. When and if you get games, how can people watch those games? Will you be streaming them?
Yeah, we're gonna stream them. I think in D3 it kind of goes off of where you're playing, obviously. So we'll have ours when we play at home here through our webcast, through our website, and then wherever we go play, they'll have theirs on their webcast as well. So
nice, great.
Yep.
All right, Chris.
We're in a little different situation, similar in the sense that we spent the entire fall semester practicing but not playing any games. The SUNY made a decision really early that all of the teams in the SUNYAC were going to have no games at all this entire season. And so that gave us an opportunity to kind of start directing our players' focus toward next year. And then, as Alex had said, we went home at the Thanksgiving break, and then we're bringing them back here the first week of February. They'll do all their quarantine testing, all those logistics the first couple of weeks. We'll start skating again February 15th. We'll skate through the month of March, and then in just practices, and then we'll move into our typical off season.
Okay. Matt, you were scheduled for a trip here to Chile. I had about 200 tickets set aside for the town of Waddington. And obviously that trip got cut short. But what's been happening with your team, and give us kind of an update of where you guys are.
Yeah, a lot. It's been an interesting past 6 months for us up here. You mentioned going out there, Bart. I was really bummed about that. I was looking forward to getting back home and playing out there again this season. But unfortunately, with everything that's gone on, like everyone on the call here, we've had our challenges. Not dissimilar to Phil, I guess, in terms we got going this season in the hopes of playing. And as we work through the WCHA and our protocols, like very similar to what the ECAC was doing in other conferences at this level, we came to the conclusion as a program or as an institution that this wasn't feasible. Obviously, being up here in Alaska, it's offers some unique challenges in regards to logistics, our travel and whatnot. So mid-November, that was pulled. And then in the interim, as guys went home for break, we have some guys coming back now, and probably similar to Coach Bernard here, where guys are coming back, and we're just kind of practicing, hopefully getting ready for a season next year that I hope comes to fruition, and just kind of trying to stay engaged here as we close out the second semester.
Sure. Switch gears a little bit. Talk about, JF and Phil, you guys have both coached college, and now you're coaching pro. What are some of the biggest differences and challenges in the job you have now compared to what you were doing in college? And maybe some of the benefits.
Yeah, well, it's way different in college. There's a lot of recruiting involved, and to make sure you get the right players, and you distribute scholarships or partial money. But in the Quebec Major Junior and the pros, you don't get to pick. You get whoever you draft, and it's way different. You get players that are drafted in all kinds of different level, from midgets to Bantams, and you have first rounders, you have fifth rounders who are different skill level. And it's usually the training camp that decides who makes the team. In college, the team's almost already made because you already distributed the scholarship. So that's what the biggest difference is. obviously at the pro level in the American Hockey League, the skill level is up a notch from those two leagues. But it's we're there as coaches to help the kids move up as far as they can.
Yeah, I would have to agree with JF. I think that the biggest thing is the recruiting aspect, where you're with the team constantly. You're on the ice. You're not missing games. You're not missing practices. You're breaking down games. You're breaking down opponents. You're not breaking down potential players that you're going to commit or guys that are going to come in 3 or 4 years from now. You're still dealing with the agents, but at our level in Major Junior, it's for the NHL draft. I was lucky enough this year. We had 3 players that went to training camp for the World Juniors. One for Team Canada, one for Team Russia, and one for Team Swiss. And 2 of those players actually played in the World Juniors, and they're with our team now. So having the chance to help and work with these guys, guys that were drafted first and second round in the NHL. So it's in that sense. I mean, hockey players are hockey players, but the biggest thing, as JF mentioned, is the recruiting aspect, where they have scouts and there's a draft.
Matt, you were in Europe. You were coaching pro level, right? And then you came to college. So what to you was one of the bigger changes in your role at college?
The recruiting, like Phil and JF said, you spend so much time in the moment of looking for the next guy or the next kid to come be a part of your program, where, unlike, for JF or Phil with those kids, you sometimes lose that time in the present, so to speak. I'm very lucky in the terms of my position. As an assistant, you do a lot of the heavy lifting as far as that recruiting and whatnot. So I get to spend a little more time with the guys than otherwise being an assistant. But that's the biggest thing is, finding that next guy to replace the guys you're going to be losing at graduation or to signings or free agency, whatever the case may be. In terms of, the kids and the hockey part of it, when it's on the ice or in the locker room, on the bus with the guys during the games, as Phil mentioned, they're hockey players. It really is all the same. I think it's whether it's pro, college, major, junior, it's kind of at the end of the day, it's all hockey, and it still makes it very enjoyable.
Yep. All right, so one thing we talked about kind of before we came on air was the interconnectedness of players that have played in the 90s, the 2000s, and then the later 2010s. So let's cover a little bit of that with some fun. So JF and I actually played together. Then Chris Bernard came in, played 2 seasons with myself, 3 seasons with JF. I missed you, Phil. You replaced my class, right? And then we've got Curls came in. So Curls, I coached you in midget for a year, right?
You
in
did.
Norfolk. And then you came in and you had, so let's go there. So Curls, who did you play for that's on this call?
Yeah, so obviously with you, Bartz, that was great. You helped me bridge that gap to become a Golden Knight, and I came in with Coach George Roll, Greg Dreschel, and Mr. J.F. Hool. So I was part of that hodgepodge class in 2003. So I started in all 4 years with Hooley.
Yeah. Yep. And Boker, you came in with Casey, and then you had Phil as an assistant, right?
Yeah, I came in with GL. That was his last year.
Yep.
So, and then obviously Casey came in my sophomore year with Phil and had those guys for 3 years.
I recruited Boker, but he told me no to go across the river.
Across the racket.
Yeah. So give us a little insight as like you're coaching now. You obviously you're a conglomeration of the guys you've had coach you. Who at Clarkson maybe has been an influence on you as a coach, and what's something you remember about a coach you had here that has stayed with you as a coach?
The one thing I could say, Josh, on that, if you don't mind me starting, is think about the guys we had on the staffs that you're talking about, right? So when I was there, Mark Morris, the only guy to win 300 pro games and 300 college games, George Roll, Jim Rock, who both went on to become, and Casey Jones, who all went on to be Division I head coaches, and then Ronnie Ralston, who coached in the National Hockey League, right? So, I mean, you think about those guys now, Drexel, what he does, and, and JF, what he's ascended to now. The cool part, I think, when you go to Clarkson as a player, the head coach is really important, but I think the assistant coaches and the quality of the assistant coaches that they've been able to maintain all the way up to present day are invaluable, you know what I mean, to the experience that's there, and why I think we had such good teams, because it wasn't just one guy, it was a whole staff. Yeah,
the last time I saw you, you were sitting with Coach Hauge and his son Landry eating the kids' donuts. Every time Josh would look away, you'd grab a Timbit.
He wasn't sharing on his own.
Bart, I actually played with Phil Roy. I played with Chris Bernard, and I played with you, Josh. And a lot of coaches touched me when I was at Clarkson. Jim Rock, for his video talent, he was very good at cutting video and kind of teaching the game through the computer. Morris, I thought was an excellent motivator. I thought he pushed the right buttons to motivate players to play at their maximum performance. George Wool is just a great person, good knowledge of the hockey. But I would say that as a coach, you learn from your teammates as well. From the people like Todd White was just a great example of the type of player he was. Craig Conroy, Chris Clark, who I thought would never make the NHL at one point because of his skating, but he really got, he had the grit, and some of those players, you learn a lot from your teammates, sometimes even more than coaches.
Good point. I remember when Jim Rock, when we got the dual head VCR, that was about as what a technology upgrade that we could record and play on a dual head VCR.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some games that you wish your number would blur out with a different last number, a different first number. But believe me, especially on the back end. But I agree with each coach that came through the program and helped us to become better players, better person. At the same time, you look over to your left or to your right in the locker room, and you had guys that you followed and you watched how they prepared. Not only for hockey, but also how they organize their academics, how they organize their life, what they put in their body, their sleep. And you learn from mistakes sometimes of what not to do, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. But like JF said, we've learned a ton from our coaches, and obviously their resume speaks for themselves, what they did after they were part of the Clarkson program, but also the players that came through that you were rubbing elbows every day in class, at the cafeteria, and then obviously on the ice.
Yeah, the one thing I would say, Bart, that I took away, and I guess drawing from my own experiences and going through it, especially now as a coach, as it translates, is just the opportunity. And when I came in, a guy like Hooley, Drexy, George, they gave me an opportunity to put on that jersey, and being from up there, like Boker and Barnyard, like that was a dream come true, right? So now as you get into coaching, you're cognizant of those opportunities to stick with the kid if you believe in them. To take that chance in college where a lot of that opportunity, I know on the pro side it's a little different, but that's one of the great lessons I've taken is, keeping in mind those opportunities that are allotted and having the fortitude to stick with those kids that you believe in, because what I find in coaching is when you do that, those guys will pay real great dividends for you, not only for your team, but just you as a coach, and it makes it better.
I think too, like obviously I had Phil as a D coach for 3 years, and Casey for 3. But I mean, just kind of interacting with them and how they handle different situations with you as a player too. I'm a young coach. I'm only 5 years in. So I had to find my way with how to handle different situations. And you kind of find yourself looking back, if you're the player, how would you respond with your coach? So that's something where, Phil's tapping away on a smart board, trying to pull up my number to roast me on video. That's kind of something where you kind of look back to when you're a player and how you're going to respond and how you want to push those buttons and whatnot. So that's kind of something for me where I didn't really have a head coach for extended period of time to learn from. So I kind of had to figure out myself and use those experiences to build it.
Alex and Chris, I'll get to you guys about this, like recruiting wise, with your seasons either on hold or in flux. What's been the biggest challenge for recruiting for next year?
I think the biggest challenge in recruiting has been first and foremost deciding who's going to come back for your own team, because the NCAA has granted all of our players an additional year of eligibility, right? So you have 5 or 6 seniors that you think are going to be transitioning to the regular world. You kind of can anticipate what you need for players. We need 2 defensemen, we need 4 forwards, whatever that might be. And all of a sudden, you're not sure if guys are going to be coming back. And so getting to that checklist, number one of, okay, who's coming back? What do we have returning? And with our level, it's a little different because you don't have scholarships involved. So it's a lot for the kids to figure out with their families if they have the financial ability and commitment to do it. So that's the first thing. The second thing I think that really for us makes it challenging is just the stall on so many of the junior leagues. So normally at this time of the year, you've got a big book of business, a funnel, so to speak, of kids that you think could be prospects for your program. You've been out, you've seen them maybe several times. And now, with not being able to get on the road, get in the building, not, with so many leagues who are still waiting to get started, it's hard to get a read on a kid, what they do well, consistently on the ice and how they might help your program when you just don't get a chance to see them play. Mm-hmm. We're going off last year's notes.
Yeah, and to mirror off what he says, like same thing. Like for us, we're fortunate. We only had 3 seniors this year, so one of which needs another year to complete his degree. I think it's like a 5-year degree or something. And then 2 are transfers from another school, so they're behind, so they can actually come back. So then, like, we're looking at it, who's really going to how are we going to recruit with that by not really losing anybody. And then we're kind of concerned too with our freshman class that we brought in this year. If we don't get games in, they don't really have the opportunity to kind of prove where they're at. We're going to basically have one big freshman class. So that's kind of something that we have to digest and figure out what we're going to do and how many guys we're going to bring in. So, Chris kind of covered all the bases because there's so many junior leagues that just aren't doing anything right now. And you kind of have to either watch an online game, which, some leagues aren't great, or just go back to last year's notes.
We talked to some of the execs last week. Both Craig and Dave Taylor mentioned the toughest part about scouting or recruiting, doing anything online is just they couldn't tell skating very well. When you watch players play online now, what's been the thing you don't notice the most, or you don't feel like you get when you're in the rink?
I could say for us, it's defensemen. It's really hard to see a really steady, smooth skating, smart defenseman. The subtleties that come with his game sound familiar, Josh. It's a profile not similar to yours, but And those are the things that are hard. What do they do away from the puck? The cameras, as Alex said, is only going to see so much. Some are better than others, the vantage point. But the ability really to dive into what that player is in the small skills of the game, those are the tough things to notice. Because unless that defenseman's dynamic and has the puck all the time and is making offensive plays, it's a little bit more difficult to see, how they could elevate your program consistently.
Last thing, give us a little update now for some of the fans that remember you when you were playing here in the green and gold, but what you're doing, what your family's up to now, like where, kids, and give us a little, start with the youngest first. Go Boker.
Living up here, obviously, but have Charlie's a 2.5-year-old turning 3 here shortly. And then we just had little Oliver back in September. So it's kind of nice in the sense that we don't have a whole lot going on. I get to spend a lot of time at home with those guys, and Charlie's just getting rolling on skates, and we have a little outdoor rink out at the in-laws that he can go out on. And so it's been a great experience this year, kind of a blessing in disguise that you savor these, times where you're not on the road every weekend, you're not gone, and you kind of sink it in. So it's been good.
Great. Matt?
Yeah. Married for about 10 years now, and I got 2 kids, a little girl named Tess, who's 8, and a little boy named Jack, who's 7. And you'd mentioned, Bart, spending time with them, being a dad, taking them to the hockey. It's been great, spending more time with them. And just kind of doing our thing. But as you'd mentioned with Clarkie, the saving grace to all this, especially with our season being canceled completely, is having that family time and just kind of, taking it all in and doing a lot of remodeling on my house. I'm not pretty handy with the, plumbing, electrical, and all that good stuff. But it's been good, to catch up with them and really spend time that as these guys all know, that you really miss not only during the season, but unfortunately in the off season as well. So it's been nice.
Yep. Phil? You just celebrated a birthday, right, Phil?
Yeah. Thanks, Bart. Yeah. Pardon me?
38.
That's right. So since we left, 3 years ago, this is the 3rd season, we made our way up to Saskatchewan and lived there for 2 years. And then late this summer, we tracked back to Quebec. So there's been a lot of movement in that sense. 3 kids. One's in high school, and the 2 boys are the same school in grade 4 and 1st grade. Unfortunately, there's no hockey for the kids here. They shut that down in September. But with the nice weather and a lot of snow and cold, we were able to build a backyard rink and skate a lot on there. And just when I'm not here working, spend a lot of time at home with the kids and just doing the family stuff, and spend a lot more time that I probably ever spent at home with the kids. So I'm not sure if they're ready for me to get back out and leave them alone a little bit, but we're spending some quality time together.
Okay.
Just enjoying life in the North Country. Grateful that my parents are still healthy and get a chance. We're pretty strict on the COVID protocol, so we can see them. My boys are playing hockey a couple times a week. No games, but practices. I've had a chance to get on the ice with them a little bit more than ever before, which I hope has been fun for them because it has been for me.
Good. Jeff?
Yeah, family's good. 3 kids. Noah's 17, Emma's 19, going to university at Santa Cruz. And I got a little 4-year-old who's great. I've gotten good at doing the dishes, vacuuming, and I do make my bed now, Josh, because I had so much time on hand.
That's great. Good. Hey, well, guys, thanks so much for taking some time out of your day. I know it was tough getting you guys together in the sense, like we got some like Phil, And the guys here in the North Country in the Eastern time zone, JF's in the, it's 3 hours back. And then Matt, it's now finally 8 o'clock. So Matt had his coffee. So Matt, thanks a lot for getting up, and JF for getting up that early. So, but thanks for joining us, guys. Continued luck, with hockey, but also, being safe. And I'm glad to get to spend some time with your family. So again, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Bart.
Thanks, Arts.